Speaking out against my abuser ruined my life.
I loved her for a lot of months afterward. I just didn't want to believe what she did was real, and I forgot about it.
Like, there were things she said that didn't line up with things she had said prior.
Part where I say it must have been 2016, I was referring to when Melanie decided to stop being my friend, not the incident.
I think I kind of dissociated out as it was happening, so I just really repressed it.
She used the sentence, "She never said no to what we chose to do together." While I did say no, in many different ways, this sentence was actually quite validating for me to hear.
Fans started to record themselves burning and destroying all Melanie Martinez merchandise.
They can't take my word against hers, just like some people here are acting like that.
I believed that as long as I told the truth, things would turn out all right. I was very wrong.
Let's get into it. Running a business can be tough, but Shopify makes it easier. Whether you're just starting or expanding, Shopify gives you all the tools to sell online, in person, and across social media. With their #1 checkout system and Shop Pay, businesses see a 50% boost in conversions and fewer abandoned carts. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Sloan, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Sloan to upgrade your selling today. That's shopify.com/Sloan. Welcome back to the Let's Get Into It podcast. I have a difficult story for you guys because we're talking about a popular singer, Melanie Martinez, and somebody named Timothy Heller. Before I give you guys some history, I want to start off this podcast saying that this is a very difficult story to cover because there are a lot of opinions, there are some serious allegations, a story about a female predator who would be Melanie. And again, I'm going to say allegedly a lot. I'm going to read off of opinions and statements. And I just want to say, Sloan over here, myself, I am not the go-to say it is what it is, be all. I'm not going to speak for anyone's story, but I've had so many people ask me to cover this, especially because Timothy has put out new information. We've talked about this story before on my main channel about Melanie and Timothy, but today we're doing a deep dive like never before. Before we get into the details, let me give you guys some history on who Melanie Martinez is and who Timothy is to her. Melanie blew up back in 2012 from The Voice, and everyone knows her for that super distinct vibe, the pop mixed with dark, almost like creepy childhood themes, which that's a video in its own right because there is something very childlike about her aesthetic, which makes me a little bit creeped out. But her album Cry Baby took off and she developed a massive fan base. But here's where it gets heavy. Her former friend Timothy Heller, who's also a musician, came forward in 2017 with some serious accusations. Timothy claimed that during their friendship, Melanie had pressured her into some inappropriate things without her consent. We all know consent is so important. I feel like when I hear that C word, consent, or comfortable, I immediately go into alert mode. I'm like, I'm never making anyone uncomfortable. Like, I will run away. Like, I don't want anyone to ever feel like they cannot, like, they're not consenting. And that's how Timothy claims how she felt in that moment. I do want to respect pronouns. From my understanding, they both go by she. Timothy Heller is a female biologically. Again, I'm trying to respect pronouns. I believe it's she. Don't rip me up in the comments. Timothy claimed that during their friendship, Melanie had pressured her into these acts without consent, and the internet went crazy. Timothy shared in this long post on social media, and it sparked a big conversation. Melanie responded saying that she was shocked by the accusations and that everything that happened between them was consensual. At least from her perspective. And that's where consent becomes super important. When I was in school, I remember they taught us, like, you have to vocalize it. You have to say it. You have to verbally consent. And I guess that can be awkward in some of those situations. I mean, like, you can't mind read somebody. So I actually want you guys to comment below. I know this is very touchy, but like, how do you get over that element? I think there are some very clear points where someone's not consenting to something. But in those times where, like, the person cannot tell and it's not, like, necessarily aggressive, and I'm not talking about this situation in particular, we're going to dive into it, but how do they, like, decipher that? Nonetheless, this situation blew up and fans were completely divided, some people backing Timothy while others standing by Melanie. There's no doubt that this story has impacted Melanie and her reputation and why she kind of like drifted away for a little bit. Part of the reason why I also think she's in costume part of the time. I mean, maybe it's because of her inspiration, but also at the same time, maybe it's her disassociating from Melanie so that she's not tied to these allegations. She's almost like a cartoon if you see recent photos of her. Now, Melanie was born in New York and she rose to fame again in 2012 on The Voice. I'll never forget the clip of her singing a Britney Spears song, and her tone was so interesting that I did become a fan at that point.
I'm calling a guy like you, should warning. It's dangerous, now I'm falling. Taste of the lips, I'm on a ride. You're toxic, I'm slipping under with that taste of your voice. I'm paradise, I'm addicted to you, don't show no that you're toxic.
Timothy is an artist who isn't as well known as Melanie, but has a strong social media following. On December 4th, 2017, Timothy, a woman who Melanie once shared a friendship with, shared on Twitter that she had been SA'd and R-worded by Melanie. The following day, Melanie tweeted a response to Timothy saying the allegations were horrifying and they saddened her, and that Timothy never said no to any of her actions. On December 9th, 5 days later, Melanie released a second statement denying that she would be intimate with someone without their absolute consent. Soon after, rumors started to spread that Timothy was lying for clout, meaning fame, to promote her music because she was jealous of Melanie. Here's a clip of Timothy talking a little bit about the situation. This is her clarifying something she said in an interview. Once this did break on the internet, she did start doing interviews with people, or at least one that I found a record of, and people tried to find some inconsistencies within this interview. So here's a clip of her briefly addressing some of those.
If you watch the recorded You Now interview that I did with Sophia, the part where I say it must have been 2016, I was referring to when Melanie decided to stop being my friend, not the incident. The incident happened in 2015. She stopped being my friend in 2016.
So in this moment, their feud began. It's more than just accusations. It's like online back and forth. Now, I don't want to negate the importance of Timothy's accusations. It's not a feud. It's depicted as that online with them like going back and forth on Instagram story and tweets. But I really want to break down what Timothy wrote so you guys can fully understand. Because I feel like initially, like what I thought, like, oh, well, you know, how does Melanie not read her mind? Well, let's really unpack everything Timothy has to say. She writes, I've kept this secret for years, convincing myself it wasn't a big deal and I wasn't hurt by it. The thought of accepting that my best friend R-worded me seems insane. Even typing that doesn't seem real to me. I started telling this story to those closest to me as somewhat of a joke. Haha, can you believe this crazy night? But I began to get responses I wasn't expecting, concerned ones. It's hard to say someone you loved R-worded you, someone you still love. The thought of writing this and having the world see it terrifies me, especially because of who this person is. This was my best friend. She took me in, which I was so grateful for. I felt like I owed her my life, and my life began to revolve around hers. I had my own problems, but if I could focus on her life, I could put off dealing with my own inner turmoil for just a little bit longer. Some of her fans became my fans, but their loyalty never strayed from her. They are so dedicated. She's perfect. To the public, she could do no wrong. She's there for her fans. She gets it. She's different. So she's really acknowledging that she's going to have to put up a battle, even kind of revealing this to the world, because Melanie is at such a high point in her life. When faced with a friend who really needed help, though, I can honestly say she let me down completely. During the most difficult time in my life, my rock bottom, her power and control over me grew and grew, and I was silenced. While being open about realizing how much help I needed, I was made to feel guilty. I had to apologize for having an extreme panic attack where I thought I was going to die, because it ruined her night. Endless incidents like this, I had become a problem. Yet, through it all, I loved her. Codependency works in a lot of strange ways. In my relationship with this friend, I was dependent on helping her with her life. As soon as I needed a small bit of focus and support from my best friend, there was nothing for us to relate to each other about. Our friendship was about her, which is an interesting perspective. I wish there were details, because sometimes it's like, okay, wait, so what kind of help did she need? Did she need friend, like, supporting, like, therapeutic, like spend time with me or come to my show and support me? Did she need help getting a record deal, getting into studio time? Did she need, like, what did she need help promoting something and she's upset? I just, you know what I mean? I'm not, again, negating what she could have needed. Maybe she, mom could have, like, what if her parent died and did she need a friend to come support her, go be there with me at the funeral? Like, I really don't know the situation. That's why I really wish it was spelt out to like what was she not there for, so we could all be like, oh, what the hell, and maybe she'll reveal it. The power she had over me grew into having a very hard time saying no to her. I would do almost anything for her. One night during a sleepover, she became increasingly interested in my intimate preferences. As someone who had previously been through hardship, it's hard to say some of these things on YouTube. We're gonna have to censor, but it's very explicit. She began asking me while in bed if I would get intimate with her. While being incredibly uncomfortable by this offer, I attempted to laugh it off. I had a boyfriend at this time. She knew that, quote, he doesn't have to know, it's not a big deal. It went on for hours, asking me why I didn't want to, that it would be fun. I repeatedly said no. I had work in the morning. I wanted to sleep. I was exhausted. I attempted to sleep, but I was kept up the entire night by my friend begging me to sleep with her. It seemed strange, but she was my best friend. I said no, and I thought we could move on. The next night, unfortunately, went the exact same. So regardless of what Timothy was going to say, it seemed like Melanie kept trying to ask her to do this, which is actually really weird behavior. Like if someone like, I'm such a rejection king, I guess I'm just kind of like, if someone rejects me, I'm running away. I'm like, okay, I don't want to be here. I'm not welcome. It's like, let me get out. I'm not gonna like ask someone multiple times, oh, can I hook up with you? Can I hook up? Can we kiss? Can we do that? It's like, no, weirdo. It's like those weird guys from school who are like, where's my hug? And I know you guys know exactly what type of guy I'm talking about. She goes on to say she convinced me to smoke some weed, and I had a hard time saying no to her. I complied, thinking maybe I'll just fall asleep and avoid the situation, but that same conversation began to happen. I told her my boyfriend would be so upset. I really need to sleep. I have work in the morning. I said every form of no I could think of. As I lay praying to fall asleep, she began touching my arm. I allowed this to happen. Maybe she'd give up. This went on for maybe an hour. I got increasingly uncomfortable. I started to giggle and saying it tickled, and then in no way did I want to make this an intimate situation. She said, can I just do this? Can I just touch your arm? Can I just touch your boobs? Melanie was just asking all these questions. It's like, god damn, not even 20 questions, hundreds and hundreds of questions. Oh my gosh, look, the candle, is it going out? Can you guys see that? Yeah, you can. Watch this place go ablaze. Nope, not today. Not in this podcast. Not in this episode. Shoot. Is that a message? Timothy continued. She began bartering with me. All I wanted to do was go to sleep. She began talking about the appearance of my boobs and just begged to touch them. She said no, but like eventually Melanie just would not give up. Okay, this needs to go out. I see the smoke now filling the room. She said, just so there's no confusion, I was M-worded by my best friend. I lay still in shock, completely not reciprocating. I hate speaking so bluntly about this because it makes me extremely uncomfortable, but she performed orally on me. Then I was penetrated with a device. Oh, hell no. That sounds really tragic. Ugh, after this desperate, like, bitch, like, would not leave me alone. I'm just like, God damn, get off of me, gross. So I can understand why Timothy feels this way. The bottom line is that I need to always remind myself I said no for 2 nights straight. It doesn't matter that I didn't resist during the action. I had been broken down. She knew I didn't want to. I made that clear. I didn't scream at her. I didn't force her off of me. 1, because I loved her, and 2, because I just wanted it all to be over. We never talked about this night ever again. While it completely messed with my head, there was no way I could have ever been R-worded by my best friend, right? She says our friendship ended because she decided she didn't have time for me anymore, to worry about me anymore. She cared too much about me. It was holding her back. I'm not sure how to end this story. I'm terrified of the response I'm going to get. The only reason I do this now is because I'm hoping, because of recent events, people will believe me. If you begin to doubt the harm that's taking place in this story, I beg you to imagine her role in this being a man. Girls can harm girls too. Best friends can harm best friends. Friendships do not equal consent. Silence does not equal consent. So this is a very tough statement. I mean, I'm winded after that one, and it's not just the smoke filling the room from that candle. Running a business can be tough, but Shopify makes it easier. Whether you're just starting or expanding, Shopify gives you all the tools to sell online, in person, and across social media. With their #1 checkout system and Shop Pay, businesses see up to a 50% boost in conversions and fewer abandoned carts. Shopify is the go-to platform for millions, helping businesses scale smoothly without the hassle. Want to see for yourself? Start your $1 per month trial now at shopify.com/Sloan. Don't miss the chance to streamline your sales and process and watch your business grow. It's simple, efficient, and incredibly powerful. From handling orders to managing payments and everything in between, upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Sloan, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Sloan to upgrade your selling today. But I want to dive into some of the interviews she did, because after she released this, she did go and speak to someone. She felt like comfortable enough to go and talk about it in detail.
Oh, yeah. Why did you choose to stay on social media instead of going to the police? I understand why, but I don't think a lot of other people do.
Okay, the quality's not great, but essentially the host is asking her, why didn't you go to the police? Like, why are you just posting this on social media? Which, granted, I'm sure the statute of limitations may have passed.
I loved her for a lot of months afterward. I just didn't want to believe what she did was real, and I forgot about it. I think I kind of dissociated as it was happening, so I just really like repressed it and didn't think about it and forgot that it happened. Decided to laugh about it like it was like a weird joke, but I was her friend for a long time afterward. You know, just because I'm realizing how fucked up it was now doesn't mean I can go to the police right now, you know, because they're gonna me for proof. They can't take my word against hers, just like some people here are acting like that. Like, you're just gonna have to choose to believe me because I'm an honest person.
Like I said at the beginning of this podcast, this is a difficult story, and I'm not here to pick one side or another, but Timothy's making a point. When you are someone who's just like a typical citizen going against someone who has a large following, it's going to be more difficult for you, your word versus their word. Unless it's someone like Diddy. I feel like at this point, anyone can be like, yeah, Diddy did something to me, and like people would follow it. But this is not that kind of a situation. There's not a lot of hard evidence against Melanie, not a lot of different people coming forward with similar stories. Of course, Melanie did acknowledge that she was horrified and saddened by it, which almost kind of confirms that, yeah, like this did happen. She did, like I said, acknowledge that they did things under her impression consensually. She said she never said no to what we chose to do together, and although we parted ways, I'm sending her love and light always. Again, the choice part is interesting because, I mean, Timothy did say she did not want this and saying over and over again, and I actually do believe that she probably didn't want to hook up with Melanie. She's probably just not interested. I mean, also, I don't have like friends I just want to go and like hook up with and then just like look at them again as a friend. Like, no, I'm way too emotional. I would just fall in love right away. But after Timothy came forward, this hashtag Melanie Martinez is over party started to spread on Twitter. Fans were getting rid of merchandise and posting them online. While not all of her fans were sold on this hashtag, it definitely sparked this wave where people were like, wait, what did Melanie do? And asking more and more questions. At the time, there were so many people sharing their opinions, collecting receipts, and it all became very confusing.
Fans started to record themselves burning and destroying all Melanie Martinez merchandise and CDs and then posting it onto social media. Timothy posted, then deleted an Instagram story saying this: "My mental problem made me do it. I feel that she was leaving me little by little and I love her. My mental disorder made me believe that she abused me and that I needed her fame. Melanie, I'm sorry."
After initially releasing her story, Timothy started to walk it back because she was scared. She actually went on to Twitter to say that her, the person who harmed her, her abuser, was a man. Again, this is not true, according to Timothy, but in the moment she claims she was in fear of like the crybabies, which is Melanie's fan base. And this could have been a way for Timothy kind of to avoid this wave of chaos, but people were then starting to debate her, saying that Timothy couldn't have been harmed by Melanie. Melanie was doing a concert in another state, trying to break down exactly when this could have happened. So ultimately, Timothy stayed true to, yeah, this in fact happened, and we kind of like settled at that. We had people kind of question some of her accusations. Melanie got some heat, but she went away, and then she kind of transformed into a new character, and it's hard to even look at Melanie as the same person anymore, which is probably part of the tactic of why she did that. Moving 6 years into the future, Timothy is back and has another statement about the situation. So I want to carefully break down what is happening here, because she's reigniting this conversation in July 2024 in a statement telling TikTok how she was effectively run off the internet after revealing her experience with Melanie. Timothy maintains that she never lied in her statement, yet she's had to suffer the consequences. So let's go ahead and watch her TikTok video together.
Speaking out against my abuser ruined my life, and I'd like to talk to you about it. I'm gonna be reading something I wrote. It's not particularly well written, but I just needed to collect my thoughts. Whether you know who I am or not, I ask you to please listen to my story. If you do recognize me, then you haven't heard from me in a couple of years, and that's because I was effectively run off the internet. You also may have heard that I admitted to lying, or that it was proven that I lied. Neither are true.
And that's, again, referring to that segment, like we kind of right before we jumped 6 years to where she said that, oh no, this was a guy, again, trying to write off that Melanie was a part of it.
Speaking out against my abuser ruined my life. Here's how we got to that point. During the Me Too movement, I chose to speak out against a former friend who had essayed me. I was young, naive, and could never imagine how this would end up affecting my life. I believed that as long as I told the truth, things would turn out all right. I was very wrong. After my initial statement, describing in detail what happened, my abuser issued a statement in response.
Let's revisit that statement briefly. Melanie said she never said no to what they chose to do together, and it was quite validating for her as it proved that she doesn't know how consent works. She went on to discuss during an interview with the Daily Mail how she offered a date of when the essay incident occurred. This both prompted fans to go and look up this date to figure out if this was even possible. Was Melanie out there working? Ultimately, they uncovered old posts that showed that the two people were in different states. So again, how could it happen?
She used the sentence, "She never said no to what we chose to do together." While I did say no, in many different ways, the sentence was actually quite validating for me to hear. She clearly didn't understand how consent works, and she admitted that something took place between us. I wish it ended there. I made the mistake of doing an interview with Daily Mail. While being interviewed, they asked for more specific details, like when the incident took place. It'd been around 2 years prior, so I didn't remember the exact date. What I did remember was a picture I took the next day. I went back in my camera roll, found the picture, and told them the day of the incident was the day before. Unfortunately, I was wrong. The picture in my camera roll appeared multiple times. I can't explain why.
Which probably in hindsight, I'm sure Timothy wishes that she vetted this date a little bit better. But I also get it. Like, I have like 80,000, maybe over 100,000 photos in my phone. So, you edit something, you crop something, it's repeated. You take something on the digital camera. My digital camera says it's taken in 1970. So I have to scroll all the way up for my digital pictures, which if you don't follow me on Instagram, definitely go and check it out at Sloan Hooks. The discovery was enough for people to discredit Timothy, and comments began to flood her social media saying that she's a liar. Timothy noted how she was excessively gaslit into thinking she was a bad person, as her mental health faced a decline due to all the negativity.
When the interview came out, her fans went back in her posts to that date to find that we were in different states. If you've never heard my story before, you might at this point wonder, why would that matter? She admitted something between you took place in her statement. I agree, and this is just one of the parts that drives me crazy. After this discovery...
That is so true. I mean, it doesn't even matter if it's like they're in different states. She kind of said like, oh, I thought she consented to everything that we did. So you do acknowledge that they did something.
She released a second statement in which she thanks her fans for researching the timeline and analyzing past Instagram posts which reveal my false statements. Unfortunately, this was enough for 99% of her fans to take what she said as truth and deem me a liar. The complete contradiction of her statements meant nothing. The events after this are so much and so overwhelming it's hard for me to recount. She ended up releasing essentially a diss track about me with lyrics perpetuating the idea that I lied about all of this for fame. While there were some supporters, the majority of the followers were people who actively hated me. I suddenly had thousands of hate accounts dedicated to me, thousands of dislikes and negative comments on all of my music, and completely ridiculous fabricated stories of me being posted online.
All of this hate ultimately pushed Timothy away from music, and even after leaving music behind, she claims that she's still dealing with the after effects of the controversy, asserting that she did nothing wrong besides telling her truth.
I didn't do anything wrong, I spoke the truth. If you're familiar with my story, you may have also heard that I admitted to lying, and I can assure you that never happened. There were photoshopped images spread around of a confession that never happened because I have nothing to confess. I never lied. You may have also heard that I accused other celebrities of this, which I can promise you never happened either. There's so many other terrible things that people have made up about me that I'm not going to dissect and defend right now. But I was successfully gaslit into thinking I was a bad person who deserved this. I'm so scared to speak out about this again. There's a high possibility that I won't receive any support from this, and people who hate me will target me again, and I go back into hiding. Please think about her contradicting statements. Please realize that there's no one on earth who knows what happened that night besides me and her. And even the smallest possibility that I could be telling the truth should be enough for you to not want to risk ruining an innocent person's life in this way.
Now that is a deep statement and very thoughtful too. Of course, Melanie has not responded to this. Comments read, I never understood why people were so quick to defend Melanie. She literally said she never said no, as if that's not what everyone who's accused of says. This person added it's because people don't believe that women can be abusers too. I stopped listening to her after the allegations and I wasn't a fan. Another person writes, her fans try to justify that by saying the full statement was she never said no to what we chose to do together, which was supposed to suggest consent. But if that was the case, then why didn't she say that Timothy said yes? Saying that, oh no, she never said no is the go around that a lot of criminals tend to use.
If you are defending Melanie Martinez, please watch this. I think there was some discrepancies in the story that she told and then a story she told later. Like there were things she said that didn't line up with things she had said prior. So she gets shunned from the internet. People are doxing her, threatening her life. Okay, so that happened, right? We'll just say that she's lying. Okay. So then I think it was yesterday she came back online to kind of tell the story again. Telling this story has ruined her life once already. Why would she come back and lie about it again, tell the story again. She knows how the internet will react. She's not lying. Like, that doesn't make sense. Why would she, like,
this is such an iffy story. And, I really don't like to have an opinion on this because, like Timothy said herself, we weren't there. Melanie was there. Timothy was there. We weren't there. You weren't there. You watching, you weren't there. But I do say that I think that there's something very fascinating about this. And I think the biggest takeaway, in my opinion, should be that women can also be abusers. They could harm people as well. And I do think that Timothy, I absolutely know something happened. I mean, Melanie said that herself. Whether, it's accurately depicted on each side, I can't say either way. But I do feel like it's a very gross situation, something that Melanie would probably not want to talk about because she doesn't want to acknowledge. But the lack of accountability keeps us now here 6 years later still talking about it, with Timothy now just finally coming back to the internet. And I think that there's still some closure to be had. I don't know what that would necessarily look like. I mean, does that mean Melanie Martinez loses her platform? I don't know. Does that mean, I just quite can't even picture what would that be. I mean, I want to hear what you guys think in the comments below. Again, this is a hard one for me to talk about because very sensitive. I am not someone who is trained in speaking on topics that can involve this. And while I do cover a lot of stuff on my YouTube channel, I just want to make sure I'm not, perpetrating any harmful message because, going through every single detail, reading every single statement here, it is definitely hard to unpack. And it's hard for me to say that I don't stand with Timothy. I mean, Timothy seems like they come with the receipts. I mean, granted, I wish that they went back and figured out where that photo was from, figure out those dates exactly. I mean, I feel like and again, I'm not, maybe she just completely, it was so traumatic that she just tried to forget about it. I don't know. But I want to hear what you guys think in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let me know if you guys want me to do a deep dive on another topic. Send me an email at slowwellknown@gmail.com. Say you've got a podcast idea, something you really want me to deep dive on, and I will do it. And I'll see you in next week's episode. Bye, guys.